Nah, it's okay.
It's inside
Just
it.
more paper. It's inside here, there's those.
Right.
Not a big deal.
That was expensive. That's just the ones. What are they going to say?
The hour of 6:30 PM having arrived, I will call to order this regular meeting of the Planning Board. This meeting is being broadcast live on channel 1302. Anyone wishing to view a copy of the agenda and supporting materials will find it on the city website. To receive electronic copies of future agenda packets, please go to the home page and subscribe to the city meetings email list. Will staff please conduct the roll?
Pamela Russell Slack,
Present.
David Orgaz, Mayor George Hansel,
Here.
Councilor Mike Remy, Harold Farrington,
Here.
Roberta Mastrogiovanni,
Here.
Gail Summers, Emily Levine Bernier, Armando Rangel,
Here.
Tammy Adams.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from January 28th, 2022?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd move we approve the minutes of the February 28th meeting as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Are there any comments, questions, changes? All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is S-01-22, boundary line adjustment -0 Gilbo Ave and 0 Commercial Street. Applicant Fieldstone Land Consultants, PLLC, on behalf of owner City of Keene, proposes a boundary line adjustment between the properties located at 0 Commercial Street, tax map number 575-010-000-000-000, and 0 Gilbo Avenue, tax map number 575-015-000-000-000. This adjustment would result in a transfer of 0.32 acres from the 0.56 acre parcel at 0 Gilbo Ave to the 1.6 acre parcel at 0 Commercial Street. A waiver is requested from Section 2510.8.b.2 of the Planning Board regulations regarding the requirement to submit an updated survey showing all mets and bounds of the revised parcels. Both properties are located in downtown growth and downtown core districts. Does staff have recommendation for completeness of the application?
This is Mary Brenner, Senior Planner. The applicant has requested exemptions from providing separate grading plans, landscaping plans, lighting plans, and technical reports. After reviewing these requested exemptions, staff have determined that exempting the applicant from submitting this information would have no bearing on the merits of the application. In addition, the applicant requests a waiver from providing an updated survey showing all meets and bounds of the revised parcels. The submitted plan includes all of the meets and bounds for 0 Gilbo Avenue, but does not include the meets and bounds for all the parcel boundaries of the property located at 0 Commercial Street. And the applicant has submitted a written waiver request for this, which is attached to the staff report. And in making a decision to accept this application as complete, the board may wish to consider whether the missing information is necessary for the board to complete its review.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the application as complete?
Madam Chair, this is Mayor George Hansel. I'd move to find the application complete.
Is there a second? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Before I invite the applicant to address the boundary line adjustment, the board will need to address the waiver request referenced by Mrs. Bruner. The applicant is requesting a waiver from Section 25.10.8.b.2 of the Keene Land Development Code, which states that an updated survey showing the boundary line adjustment and all mets and bounds of the revised parcels shall be prepared by the applicant. Specifically, the applicant is seeking a waiver from providing the full mets and bounds of the property at 0 Commercial Street. At this time, I will invite the applicant to come forward to present on the waiver request, and please state your name and address for the minute taker.
Sure. Madam Chair, members of the board, my name is Michael Plouffe. I'm a land surveyor with Fieldstone Land Consultants. Here tonight to represent the city of Keene, which the city owns both lots. Off to my left, I have them highlighted. One is pink and the other area is blue. The purpose of the plan is to revise the common line between lot 57515 and lot 57510. The 57515 pink lot is the present skate park. And as you can see, there's a long leg that goes all the way out to Main Street. So one purpose is to take that long leg and add it to the Commercial Street lot, the parking lot. We're also going to reconfigure the south side of the skate park to make it more rectangular and uniform in shape. I can show you. So off to my left again, the pink 575-15 lot will be the final when we're done. The two orange areas that you see highlighted is parcel B and parcel C. Those are both being added to the blue lot 57510. And parcel A is a small triangular sliver that we're adding to 57515 to make it the current or the future rectangular shape. Just some areas for reference. The original acreage for the Commercial Street lot, the blue lot, was 1.6. The final will be 1.9 after parcels B and C become added to it. The original area of the pink lot, the skate park, was 575-15 was 0.5 acres. And after parcel A is added to it from lot 10, we'll end up at 0.24 acres. It's getting a little smaller. With that, that's pretty much the presentation. I know that this is preparation for future development, but there's no development prepared right now. Just trying to get the lots configured into a more usable fashion. And I welcome any questions the board may have at this time.
Do board members have any questions for the applicant on the waiver request? I just want to say something about the waiver request. Strict conformity would pose an unnecessary hardship to the applicant, and the waiver would not be contrary to the spirit intent of the regulation or specific circumstances relative to the site plan or conditions of the land in such site plan indicate that the waiver will probably carry out the spirit and intent of the regulations.
Madam Chair, can I just interject really quickly?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. So yeah, what you just read were the planning board's waiver criteria, and that's what the board needs to find in order to grant the waiver request. And I don't know if the applicant was clear that this portion was geared towards the waiver request specifically, so I don't know if you could speak briefly just to that piece of this. And then once the board votes on the waiver request, they'll go into the public hearing for the rest of the project.
So the Commercial Street parking lot parcel, the blue one, is a larger property. It has a long, complicated history. The parcel is an assemblage of various lots over the years. In 1969, the City Council laid out the parcel as a public way. The public way has been modified from time to time to accommodate development needs. Researching the history of this of these various acquisitions, layouts, modifications, cross easements, etc., would require substantial time and effort. and would unnecessarily delay the development of the Keene Skate Park. The results of that effort would also have no bearing on the adjustment between the two lots as shown. We believe this constitutes an unnecessary hardship on the city and a nonprofit entity supporting the skate park. As part of the upcoming downtown infrastructure repair and replacement project, the city will be evaluating the future of Gilboa Avenue, including the potential extension of Wilson Street to meet Gilboa Avenue. At that time, the city expects to modify Commercial Street and Wilson Street's layouts with a full property survey. The full property survey will be completed. Therefore, we respectfully request that the planning board grant this waiver and exempt the meets and bounds on the larger parts, 575-10.
Do board members have any questions? I do not see any. Thank you. So right now, I'm going to invite the public to, actually, we need to vote on the waiver.
I think it's up to you, actually. You could vote on the waiver request now and then move into the public hearing, or you could vote on the waiver later. It's really up to the board, whichever way you want to do it.
Madam Chair, I'd just suggest we can vote on the waiver request afterwards, just in case a member of the public has a problem with the waiver request and wants to speak.
That's what I was going to do. Thank you. Anybody else have a comment? Any board members? Okay. Thank you very much. So right now, I'm going to invite the public to ask if anyone here from the public has any questions or comments. Okay, so I'm now going to close the public comment. Is there a motion? Or are there any other?
I can put a motion on the floor. I would move to accept the waiver request requested by the applicant.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay. So now you may present on the proposal. You might want to say your name again and address again, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Plouffe. I'm a land surveyor with Fieldstone Land Consultants. Do you want me to stand up and present? I mean, I kind of went through it real quickly. Do you want me to go over it again?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, as you can see, there's two existing lots of record. The first lot of record is 575-15, and that contains just over a half an acre. The other lot of record is the 575-10, that's 1.6 acres. We're proposing to revise the lot lines, the common lines between both lots, and they will end up as shown right here, with the pink lot being the new revised skate park lot, and it'll be 0.24 acres, and the orange in the two orange areas will be added to the 575-10 lot, which will now be 1.9 acres. And that's about as simple as it gets.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions?
Just one question, Madam Chair.
Yes, your hands up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That little sliver in the front, is that just like the sidewalk, or why is that being in the front of this? Yeah.
sliver here or this sliver?
The second one, the one to the north side, I guess.
Right here?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that's just my my highlighting. I didn't have enough room, but the blue line is the skate park used to go. See this pink line right here?
Mm-hmm.
And the skateboard park went all the way up to the north right-of-way line. Sorry. So the new line is right here. So it ends up with there being a strip right there, yes. But it's an existing strip that was there before, but it was part of this entire pink lot right here. Does it-
So is there a reason not to, if I can, is there
Yeah.
a reason not to just include that with the new parcel?
Madam Chair, if I may.
If you could state your name and address, please.
Don Lucio, City Engineer with the City of Keene. And to answer Your Honor's question, the reason is that that strip of land, it's about 10 feet wide, is actually where the existing bike path is. If we were to transfer that, it would become detached from the overall parcel. So we want to keep that on the sort of the public parcel, if you will.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the board? Mr. Farrington?
The portion to the south that will be subtracted from the skate park,
Yes.
will that result in any of the skate park structure being,
No, the limit of the structure is, you can see is right there. We show the fencing that's going around it too.
okay, okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the board? Okay, thank you. And I will, believe, hear from you, Mrs. Bruner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have much to add to what the applicant has already described. I think overall, the skate park land is, the skate park is the 0 Gilbo Avenue land, and the commercial street parking lot is the 0 Commercial Street land, and the bulk of the land swap would result from a transfer of the Cheshire Rail Trail portion of the 0 Gilbo Avenue, which is the skate park land, over to the commercial street parking lot, and the result would also make the skate park parcel a little bit more rectangular. So it'd be more of a regular shape. This is both of these parcels are predominantly in the downtown growth zoning district. There's a small, the last little piece of the rail trail portion, and there's like a little portion also on the 0 Commercial Street lot that extends over to into the downtown core subdistrict. So there's a small portion of each lot that's in the downtown core district, but mostly they're in the downtown growth district, and both of these districts don't have a minimum lot size. There were no departmental comments on this application, and the only two standards that would be relevant would be traffic and access management. However, there are no changes proposed to the existing access to either of these properties. No development is proposed at this time, and there's no surface waters or wetlands present on either site. So that's really all I have for you. I did include a recommended language for a motion in your packet. It's on page 13 of the overall packet, so 13 of 79.
Thank you very much. Do board members have any questions for the staff?
You had mentioned, like, in the future, where you said there's no future plans, but there was some talk of extending Wilson Street straight.
Yes, I'm not familiar with all the details of that. I think there are some future plans for the city to take a look at the commercial street parking lots, which is, as the applicant mentioned, currently laid out as a public way, which is not typical of a parking lot. So I believe there's plans to reconfigure that in the future. However, that's not included as part of this proposal, so it wasn't part of my review as staff.
I just recall it being discussed again in previous.
Okay. Thank you. Do any other board members? One is really distracting. Any other board members have any other questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here from the public that has any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, so this meeting was not advertised as having a Zoom option for the public. However, I did notice that there's a couple of folks in the attendee list on Zoom. So I don't know if you want to invite them to see if anyone on Zoom would like to speak. And if you're on Zoom, you would have to use the raise hand function on Zoom, or if you're on the phone, you would have to hit *6. I think it's *6. Or *9. All right, neither of them are raising their hands.
Okay, thank you very much. And I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to close the public comment portion of the deliberation. And I'm going to ask the board if there is a motion.
I do have a motion. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Mayor George Hansel. I would move to approve S-01-22 as shown on the plan entitled Lot Line Adjustment Prepared for City of Keene, 3 Washington Street, City of Keene, County of Cheshire, State of New Hampshire, prepared by Fieldstone Land Use Consultants at a scale of 1 inch equals 30 feet on February 16th, 2022, and last revised on March 9th, 2022 with the following condition prior to signature by Planning Board Chair. Number 1, owner's signatures appear on plan.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any other discussion or edits? Okay. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
The second item on the agenda is S-02-22, boundary line adjustment, 50 and 62 Rural Street. Applicant Cardinal Surveying and Land Planning on behalf of owners Elfried Wagner and Pilot Realty, LLC, proposes a boundary line adjustment between the properties located at 50 Rural Street, tax map number 518047. 000 and 62 Rural Street, tax map number 518-051-000-000. This adjustment would result in a transfer of 0.03 acres from the 6-acre parcel at 50 Rural Street to the 0.21 acre parcel at 62 Rural Street. A waiver is requested from section 25.10.8.b.2 of the Planning Board regulations regarding the requirement to submit an updated survey showing all meets and bounds of the revised parcels. Both properties are located in the low-density district. Does staff have the recommendation for completeness of the application?
This is Mary Brenner again. The applicant requests exemptions from submitting separate existing and proposed conditions plans that show all the boundaries and acreage of the existing and proposed lots subject to review, a grading plan, a landscaping plan, a lighting plan, and technical reports. After reviewing this, the requested exemption, staff have determined that exempting the applicant from submitting this information would have no bearing on the merits of the application. And similar to the application that you just reviewed, this applicant is also requesting a waiver from Article 25, Section 10.8b.2 of the Land Development Code from the requirement to submit an updated survey showing the boundary line adjustment and all meets and bounds of the revised parcels. So the submitted plan does show all of the meets and bounds for the property at 62 Rural Street, but does not include all the meets and bounds for the property at 50 Rural Street. And the applicant has submitted a waiver request, which is included in your packet. So once again, in making a decision to accept the application as complete, the board may wish to consider whether the missing information is necessary in order for you to complete your review.
Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the application as complete?
Madam Chair, this is Mayor George Hansel. I'd move to find the application complete.
Is there a second? All in favor? Thank you. And just going to remind everybody before I invite the applicant to address the boundary line, the board will need to address the waiver request again first. So I think I'll just repeat this for everybody because I think it could be a little confusing. But the applicant is requesting a waiver from section 25.10.8.B.2 of the Keene Land Development Code, which states that an updated survey showing the boundary line adjustment and all meets and bounds of the revised parcels that shall be prepared by the applicant. Excuse me. Specifically, the applicant is seeking a waiver from providing the full meets and bounds of the property at 50 Rule Street. So at this time, I'll invite the applicant to come forward to present on the waiver request. And if you can please state your name and address.
Hi.
Thank you.
Wendy Pelletier from Cardinal Surveying, Sullivan, New Hampshire. So we have, this is the .21 acre parcel, which we surveyed in full. The second parcel, so this is the tax map. This is the second parcel. It's 6 acres. And the only area that we're concerned about right here is .03 acres. Surveying the entire thing would, in our opinion, be an undue burden on the owners. It has no impact on any other lot out there. Just for reference, 50 Rule Street, the house is right here, and they own this whole 6 acres. So if you can see that. So like I said, it's not going to affect the boundary line adjustment. It won't affect the abutters, and would, in our opinion, cause undue time and expense.
Do any of the board members have questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing no questions from the board, is there anyone here from the public that have any questions or wanted to provide any comments? And how about on Zoom? None? Okay, thank you. So there are no more public comments, so I'm going to close the public comment portion for deliberation, and I'm going to ask if there is a motion on the waiver request.
Madam Chair, I would move to grant the waiver request.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, edits? All in favor? Thank you. So I'll now invite you to, if you could state your name and address again, to present on the proposal.
Okay, Wendy Pelletier,
Thank
Cardinal
you.
Surveying. So this is a .21 acre lot. I'm going to go back to the tax map. So these lots were taken out of this bigger parcel. This is Sullivan Street, this is Rule Street. Taken out one at a time back in the 20s, 30s, 40s. The lot in question is smaller than all the others. These are all about 115, 120 feet deep. For some reason, this one was 99 feet deep. The house was built in the 20s, probably subsequently added onto. This is the original lot line. The additions have gone over the lot line. Nobody knew. They probably built to these pins back here, which were existing. This was sold in June of last year, and upon sale, proposed sale this year, it was noted that the house is over the lot line. So what we've done, the proposal is to move the lot line to be in line with all the others. The shed would still be over. That will have to be moved. That is a condition of the sale. So that's all we're proposing is that .03 acres be given to the .21 acres. It doesn't make the building conforming to setbacks, but it's more conforming than it was in all in one lot.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much. And I invite the staff for comments. Mrs. Bruner, probably.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Mary Brenner, Senior Planner. So again, I don't have a lot to add to what the applicant has already stated. The two properties that are the subject of this boundary line adjustment are both single-family lots in the low-density district with frontage on Rule Street. There's no development proposed at this time. The purpose of the boundary line adjustment is to move the lot line for the 62 Rule Street property back so that the entire house is located on the lot. It does make this lot more conforming with respect to setbacks, although I believe it's still not quite far back enough to be the full rear setback that would be required in this district. And the minimum lot size in the low-density district is 10,000 square feet. So prior to adjustments, the 50 Rural Street is, it's 6 acres, so that's going to be in conformance, but the 62 Rural Street lot is just under 10,000, so it's 9,061 square feet before the adjustment and 10,539 square feet after the adjustment, so it does come into compliance with lot size as a result of this proposal. The only comment from other departmental staff was with respect to the shed and whether that was going to be moved onto the property, which the applicant has addressed. And with respect to the board standards, again, the only ones that would be applicable are traffic and access management. In this instance, there's no changes proposed to the existing access to either property, so that standard does not apply. And with respect to surface waters and wetlands, there are no known wetlands or surface waters present on either of the subject parcels, and there's no new development proposed as part of this application, so the standard does not apply. And I also, on page 20 of the agenda packet, I included some recommended language for a motion. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any board members have any questions for the staff? Okay, seeing none. At this time, I invite the public to ask questions, or are there any comments? Seeing no one in the audience, how about Zoom?
No one on Zoom, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. So at this time, I'll close the public comment portion, and may I have a motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd move to approve S-02-22 as shown on the plan entitled Boundary Line Adjustment Map 518-051-000 and Map 518-047-000, 50 and 62 Rural Street, Keene, New Hampshire 03431, prepared by Cardinal Surveying and Land Planning at a scale of 1 inch equals 20 feet on February 15, 2022, and last revised on March 14, 2022, with the following condition prior to signature by the Planning Board Chair. 1, owner's signatures appear on plan.
Thank you, Mary Hansel. Is there a second? All in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you, Wendy. The next item on the agenda is the first public hearing for SPR-927, modification of number 11B, site plan 2 Ashbrook Road, number 12, applicant KPR Centers LLC on behalf of owner Keene MZL LLC proposes to renovate the north tenant space in the building located at 2 Ashbrook Road, number 12, tax map number 109-027-000-010-010-012. For use as Panera Bread's restaurant with a drive-through window. This site is 1.64 acre in size and is part of the larger Monadnock Marketplace Plaza located in the Commerce District. Does staff has recommendation for completeness?
Yes, Madam Chair, the applicant requests an exemption from submitting a lighting plan, a drainage report, a soils analysis, an historic evaluation, and a screening analysis. Staff recommend that the board grant the requested exemptions and accept the application as complete.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the application as complete?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Mayor George Hansel. I'd move to find the application complete.
Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. We'll now invite the applicant to present to the proposal. State your name, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Jim Fippard. I'm with Brickstone Land Use Consultants, 185 Winchester Street in Keene. I'm here tonight on behalf of Keene MZL LLC, which is the Monadnock Marketplace. If I can get my easel to stand up. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. It's not even electronic. We're here tonight to propose a new Panera Bread restaurant to be located in the Small Shops building, which is located on Monadnock Marketplace. And this is the existing conditions plan for this portion of the property at Monadnock Marketplace. Ashbrook Road is here at the bottom of the page. New Hampshire Route 9 will be located on the left-hand side. Ash Swamp Brook is located here. And this is the corner of the property where the existing restaurants are located. Chili's restaurant is here at the top of the page, and this is Longhorn Steakhouse. So to access this area, the public drives down Ashbrook Road to a signalized intersection. You can take a left turn, entering the parking lot area that feeds the restaurant section and Price Chopper, the grocery store. So this was constructed. There used to be an Olive Garden restaurant located in this corner with the initial construction back in 2005, I believe now. It's been a long-term project for me. I started in 1984 working on this property. So it's one of my lifelong projects, I think. So back in 2015, the Olive Garden restaurant closed and the vacant building was removed, and we came before you, received approval to construct a new building, a multi-tenant building, which we call the Small Shops. So these are smaller tenant spaces than some of the other larger buildings within Monadnock Marketplace. And Panera Bread is proposing to locate here, which will be the north end of the existing building. This is a vacant space today. There's another small vacant space beside it, which will get another tenant shortly. And with this occupation of this portion of the building, they're proposing to make changes in the parking lot, which will allow the addition of a drive-through lane. Drive-through lanes are very prominent and very important in today's world for most restaurants that can offer faster foods than a traditional formal sit-down restaurant. So the building is located here. This is the space that would be occupied by Panera Bread. We're proposing to eliminate a couple of parking spaces at this portion on the west side of the building to create an outdoor seating area, a patio. There'll be 24 outdoor seats during seasonal conditions that are appropriate. And there'll be 70 seats inside the restaurant. So it's similar, maybe a little bigger in size than the existing Panera on West Street. We'll be reconfiguring portions of the parking lot to allow us to create a dedicated drive-through lane in this area to the north of the building. So the drive-through will be built to a long enough length to allow queuing for 10 or 11 cars. The pickup window would be here, so the queuing would extend in this direction. The order board is here at the bottom of the page, and then the drive-through lane itself begins in this portion of the parking lot. So we are eliminating some parking spaces on the property. The zoning ordinance for this use requires only 47 parking spaces for the entire Small Shops building, and I believe we have 81 parking spaces that'll remain. So plenty of parking to accommodate customers at this location. We are proposing to relocate the existing dumpster on the property. The existing dumpster, which for this building space was actually never utilized, still brand new, is right in this location, this corner of the building. And we're going to propose to relocate it so that the drive-through lane can be accommodated through this area adjacent to the building. So the new enclosure will be located here. In this location, it'll still be well screened. I'm hoping that we can recycle the screened enclosure that's there today. It's still brand new since it was never used. The trash haulers didn't get a chance to destroy it yet. But trucks can drive through the parking lot and have easy access to this enclosure area and then circulate outside the building. So we double-checked turning radiuses to make sure that that was going to be possible, and it is. It's easily accommodated. So again, that'll be 6-foot-high solid fencing, gated enclosure, completely screening the dumpster location. We're also eliminating parking spaces in this location to create a dedicated delivery area for the building. So the building, because of the way it's situated adjacent to Ashbrook Road, doesn't have the backyard area that a typical restaurant building might have to accommodate deliveries. And they don't want to force deliveries to go through the front door in the customer space in the building. So instead, we're creating an area where, again, a tractor-trailer truck can come in back into this space. It's striped off and signed, so it's always available when the trucks come in. It then has an accessible route either to the front door of the building, depending on what time it is and what's being delivered, or to the back door of the building, which is in this area. So this works very well for either location to accommodate deliveries to the site. Because of the changes in the parking lot, we took a look at the drainage that's existing there today. We're actually decreasing lot coverage. We're increasing green space by about 200 square feet. So we're slightly reducing runoff. There'll be no increase necessary. That's why we requested an exemption from providing a drainage report, because it's actually improving the drainage situation. Landscaping, we are proposing, this would be a newly constructed island. So all of these are landscaped islands, but I didn't show the plantings because I wanted to highlight the new plantings only. So this identifies the new plantings we're proposing. So we're planting 2 trees, and the rest are shrubs and perennials in this location, which will buffer the cars sitting in the queue lane coming through. This area will be striped out and signed, so people in the queue lane aren't blocking traffic flow through this area. This is part of the Longhorn parking adjacent to this. This dash line that you see actually represents a lease line for the small shops building. So this area is dedicated primarily for their use, although any customer can park here. And this is dedicated primarily for Longhorn use. Additional plantings are down here in these areas as well, and I didn't show the plantings that already exist adjacent to Ashbrook Road. A lot of those trees were planted back in 2005 and 2006, so they're actually getting pretty mature. They're pretty tall now. A lot of them are 20 feet tall, well established. The landscaping is irrigated, so these have done very well. They've prospered and are very healthy in this area. There is full-time maintenance at Monadnock Marketplace that tends to all the landscaping, and when you visit the site, I'm sure you've all noticed what good condition it is and what great care is taken of that property. The lighting for the property, existing light poles, there are existing light poles here and here which aren't being changed, they're not affected. We are adding some wall packs on the building only. Those will replace wall packs that are already on the building. So we're proposing an exemption from providing an additional lighting plan because we're not changing the lighting in the parking lot. So that remains adequate. The existing fixtures are full cutoff fixtures, LED, so it's up to date as well. The traffic report was provided at the request of city staff. I didn't turn it in initially with the application, but staff requested it. And I didn't turn it in initially because I just didn't feel it was necessary. This drive-through is within the parking area of Monadnock Marketplace, entirely on site. And if it ever backed up beyond the queue, it's backing up into that private parking area, not into a city street or interfering with public access. And looking at the uses going from a 200-seat Olive Garden restaurant to the retail stores that are there today, there's a jewelry store, Yankee Candle, and now a 70-seat restaurant, just didn't justify the numbers. The numbers were going to be less in the end run than previously existed at the site. So, but staff requested it, so we hired VHB, Vanas Hangen Bruslin, and their traffic engineer, did a detailed analysis using the ITE trip generation manual. They also had the benefit, because Panera is a large franchise in New England, and I don't know where else in the country, but I think I've seen them elsewhere as well. They have existing data from restaurants that have drive-through lanes, and they could look at hour-by-hour sheets detailing the traffic that they generated. And those numbers are far lower than what ITE estimates. So they went with the ITE numbers in here to give you the most conservative estimate possible. And even with those artificially high numbers, there's still no impact to traffic safety or capacity at Ashbrook Road and at New Hampshire Route 9. And I wasn't surprised by that, but the staff felt it was necessary, so they were kind enough to accommodate it. I covered the landscaping. There's no change to snow storage. They still use parking spaces in the parking lot. After a storm event, they pick up the snow piles and it's trucked out of the site and disposed of off-site. Sewer and water is not going to change. We'll utilize the existing facilities that service this building. It was set up for a restaurant space initially, and they're the first restaurant to occupy this space today. There will be no impact to surface waters or to wetlands because we're not changing drainage. And that brings us to architecture. So we are proposing some changes to the building, but primarily it's just the colors. We're maintaining the architectural theme of the building. So the cornice work that you see here, the brick columns, those are all part of the original architecture that the planning board approved back in 2015. All we're doing is changing the color of this tenant space where Panera Bread would be located. So they're going with darker colors, and I think you're seeing that as a general theme these days. I noticed Starbucks redid their exterior of the building, and it's all dark colors, and it looks really nice. Looks great. So they're getting away from the red brick, they're getting away from the terracotta tiles, and going to what I think is a more formal look, nice clean look, and a modern look. And that's what we're proposing here. So they are changing the awning, so it won't match the awning that's there, but they'll still be in the same location. It'll be a different color. They are changing some of the commercial entries, elements, the glasswork, and the door locations to accommodate the layout of the restaurant. So this is the north elevation, which faces where the queuing lane is, faces Longhorn Restaurant. This is the west elevation, which faces the Chili's restaurant. So generally, the facade has stayed the same. The colors are changing. The glass windows and doors are all in the same wall locations. The east elevation is the only other visible elevation, since the south elevation is an internal wall in the building. But this is the elevation facing Ashbrook Road. So as you can see, there are doors here, pedestrian doors. We have landscaping and a sidewalk in this area as well to maintain that pedestrian scale. But the colors have been changed away from the red brick and away from the terracotta, which helps identify this as a separate space in the building. And signage is signage. Panera Bread has a different sign style, and I'm just showing that. I know it's not a planning board issue, but I wanted you to see that as well. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to go over them.
Are there any board members that have any questions?
I just have more of a process question. And I appreciate you responding to the engineering's request for the traffic study. That's formally submitted as part of this application now, as a modification?
Yeah, it was submitted a couple weeks ago, and staff had an opportunity to review it.
Okay.
And she described it in the staff report.
No, I saw it. I saw a different date. I saw like a March 11 date on it. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you. So at this time, I'll invite the public, if there's anyone here from the public for any questions or comments.
Madam Chair, it looks like there is somebody on Zoom.
Okay.
Right, so it's Edward Haas, you should be able to speak now.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just curious, what was the flooding experience in the parking lot?
I'm sorry, could you state your name and address, please?
Sure. Edward Haas, 114 Jordan Road.
Okay. And I'm sorry, what was your question?
I'm curious what the flooding experience was in the parking lot around the stores last summer during the flooding that we had. I'm a little concerned as to what date the flood maps are that might have been used in the original drainage designs. So 2 questions. What was the experience and what is the original drainage design based on?
Okay, thank you.
Jim Fippert again. There was no flooding at Monadnock Marketplace. Before Monadnock Marketplace was developed, this property was identified as part of a split flow floodway, they called it, where Ash Swamp Brook was obstructed by the size of the culvert passing under Route 9, and in a 100-year event, floodwaters would overtop the embankments and pass across this property. And the flood study in 1985 that was done was just done incorrectly. And it turned out they used wrong information in developing the topography. And they modeled the flooding of this property as a 3-foot wall of water when it reached the intersection of Route 9 and 12, but it didn't cross the highway. So it was a miracle flood that they modeled. They knew it was wrong, but they didn't have money to correct it. Michael Conover and Conover Development, the original developers of the property, came along. We hired a hydrologist. We redid the flood model for this portion of the city, used the correct topographic information, and amended the flood map, which was incorporated into the 2006 FEMA flood maps that now Keene utilizes. Those are the regulatory flood maps for the city. So this property is no longer in the 100-year floodplain. It was removed because of the incorrect modeling, and the situation that we developed on site, we used a 50-year design storm, which back then in 2003 wasn't necessary, it wasn't required. Keene required a 25-year flood event. We did a 50-year event. We sized the structures, we sized our stormwater areas. The wet detention area that you see from Route 12 is part of that stormwater system, and it's worked very well. It's been tested several times with the heavy rains we've had, and there has never been flooding on this property that I'm aware of.
Thank you. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Do you have any other questions?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Thank you,
you.
Jim.
Are there any other questions? Anyone else on Zoom, Mary?
No one else has their hand raised.
Okay, thank you. So seeing that there are no other public comments, I'm going to close the public comment portion for deliberation. So, is there a motion?
On the waiver request?
No.
Get a staff report.
Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped Mary.
No worries.
We do need the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this proposal is for the 12 Ashbrook Road number 12 building, which is located on the northwest corner of New Hampshire Route 9 and the Ashbrook Road intersection. And it's part of the larger 70.5 acre Monadnock Marketplace development. And it's in the location where Olive Garden restaurant used to be. So I'm just going to go really quickly through the your standards that are relevant to this application. I'll try not to be too repetitive of what the applicant has already said. With respect to drainage, as the applicant noted, there's actually going to be an overall reduction in the amount of impervious surface on the site. So the applicant did request an exemption from providing a drainage report, and staff felt that that was reasonable given the reduction in impervious surface. With respect to sediment and erosion control, during construction, the applicant is proposing to install silt fencing along the south end of the disturbed area and install silt socks at all existing catch basins. And in addition, the perimeter of any stockpiles will be protected with silt fencing, and they will be seeded and mulched if left in place for more than 21 days. Post-construction, sheet N1 of the plan set specifies that all finished graded areas shall be seeded, fertilized, and mulched within 72 hours of finished grading, so that standard appears to be met. With respect to snow storage and removal, there's no changes being proposed. With respect to landscaping, I think the applicant had a really good visual for you today to show where the new landscaping is proposed. They're proposing to install a mix of 31 shrubs and 36 perennials, and no existing trees are proposed to be removed. And during construction, the applicant is proposing to protect the root system of the existing trees in the area by installing temporary fencing. So that standard appears to be met. With respect to screening, the applicant described the screening that would be provided for the dumpster. In addition, there is a rooftop unit that's proposed that would be screened by an existing parapet. It would also be set back from the roof, I believe, 20 feet. Yep, 20 feet from the edge of the roof. So between the setback and the parapet, that would be screened from view. With respect to lighting, the applicant is proposing to install 6 wall-mounted lights, including 4 on the north facade, which would be along where the drive-through window is, and 2 on the west facade. The proposed light fixture is an LED wall sconce that's an antique bronze finish. It's full cutoff, and the color temperature is 3,000 Kelvin, and a color rendering index is 90, which exceeds the board standards. And the applicant has requested an exemption from providing a full photometric plan because there's no changes to the lighting in the actual parking lot area. With respect to traffic and access management, as the applicant noted, they submitted a trip generation analysis prepared by VHB, which concludes that the proposed restaurant with a drive-through window would not change the trip generation estimates for the previously approved small shops building, as there's no overall change in the square footage of the building. In addition, it looked at the queue lengths for the drive-through and notes that the 95th percentile drive-through queue length would reach a maximum of 6 vehicles, assuming a 2-minute processing time at the pickup window, whereas the franchise, that's one of the assumptions in this analysis. The franchisee estimates it would actually only be 1 minute. So with a 2-minute processing time, and assuming that during the peak hour, about 30% of total customer transactions will occur at the drive-through window, there would only be a maximum of 6 vehicles. The drive-through can accommodate 10 to 11 vehicles. So that does appear to be sufficient for the proposed use. No changes are proposed to the existing access to the site, and with respect to internal traffic flow, I think the only area that was of potential concern, I think the applicant pointed it out, is the break in the drive-through lane where trucks could drive through to get to the dumpsters, but that will be striped off as an area that cannot be blocked by vehicles waiting in the queue line, so that addressed that concern. There's no surface waters present on the site. However, Ash Swamp Brook is located about 300 feet to the west. So the proposed development is outside of both the surface water protection buffer and the shoreline protection area. And there's no hazardous or toxic materials on the site. With respect to architecture and visual appearance, I did include in your staff report, or in the staff report, figure 3. I tried to get pictures of what's existing to compare to what's proposed. Really, the only thing that's changing, as the applicant noted, are the colors. So I was hoping that would help you kind of see what the change in colors would look like. But the full elevations that are in color are attached to the staff report if you have any questions. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And I did include on page 28 of your packet recommended language for a motion.
Do any board members have any questions? Thank you, Mayor Hensel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question for staff. When we're evaluating this building, you really are we're just considering as part of the site plan only the Panera Bread space. It doesn't include the other attached retail spaces and the facades out there, correct?
Well, that's the only part of the building that's proposed to have any changes made to it. The rest of the building is remaining as it was approved by the planning board back in, I think it was 2015.
Right, but my question's getting at, this is kind of this is an existing site plan that the planning board approved with all of those spaces. And so now this is we're only really considering this one space now, so we're considering it as its own sort of building, and I'm getting at this just because of the change in color and some of our standards related to visual appearance. If I'm considering this space uniquely on its own, I think it conforms. If you consider it like with all of the other spaces it's attached to, there may be some more questions I would have.
Right, I think that's something for the board to decide if you think that the look of what's being proposed doesn't fit with overall building. I think that's definitely within your purview if you wanted to. But as staff, I was really just evaluating this piece of the building since that's the only portion that's changing. But I think you could, if you felt it was important, you could look at the building as a whole. But really, this is the only section that's changing. I don't think that's very helpful, but that's how I looked at it when I was doing my staff report.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I'd like to offer some more consideration, I guess, for the mayor. As you look around all of the storefronts up and down Main Street in Keene, they're in buildings, they're all attached, but more and more over time, the businesses are developing changes in appearance. We've seen brighter colors in the restaurants, trying to help them stand out and make them identifiable as a separate entity, even though these are big, large buildings. So I think this is no different than that. It's a multi-tenant building with this long facade, and it helps the businesses in there, if they can be easily identified, okay, that's where Panera is. So I think it's just following that reasoning, which I think a lot of businesses are following these days.
Yeah, it does help. I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, I think that even with the new color scheme, it's consistent with other places in the city where there are these businesses that are right up against each other and they have very different color schemes. And barring any new information, like, I'm fine thinking of this as an independent building, an independent business that can do that. I was just trying to sort of internalize how, as a planning board member, I'd be looking at this and reviewing it, being that it was a previous plan that we approved and we looked at as one piece, and now we're segmenting it. But I'm fine.
Okay. I remember voting on this when the restaurant left at that time. But, okay, thank you. So, any other questions from the board? Is there a motion?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd move to approve SBR-927, modification number 11B for renovations to the northern tenant space at the Small Shops Building located at 2 Ashbrook Road, number 12, as presented in the plan set identified as Panera Drive through Lot 16B, prepared by Brickstone Land Use Consultants and SVE Associates at a scale of 1 inch equals 20 feet on February 18th, 2022, and last revised on March 4th, 2022, with the following conditions prior to signature by Planning Board Chair. 1, submittal of security for erosion control, landscaping, and as-built plans of form and amount acceptable to the city engineer. Number 2, owner's signature appears on plan.
Thank you. Is there a second? All in favor? Or, I'm sorry, are there any questions or edits? Mr. Farrington?
Kind of the same question again. Maybe it's more for Mary, but it's last revised March 4th, but the letter from VHB was March 11th.
Sure. So yeah, the letter from VHB might have come after the revision date on the plan, but it didn't actually alter the plan itself. So yeah.
That's okay. That's all right. Mayor Hansel?
Just a comment that I think the design with the drive-through and everything is really smart. And I was originally concerned before I actually figured out how it was gonna work, that there would be some backup maybe into the Longhorns parking lot, but having it go through the median like that, I think is a smart way to do it, so.
I'm going to agree because I went out there last weekend and I was trying to figure out how you were going to do that. So, because that was going to be one of my questions tonight. That was very clever. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Thank you. They will miss you, Jim, when you retire because you're going to take a lot of history with you. So I bet you get called back at some point. But thank you so much.
I'll be back next month, but
Okay,
sometime this year, it's
I know.
sayonara.
It's coming. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the change of governmental land use, RSA 674.54, regarding a proposed salt shed on the former city land property located at 0 Main Street, tax map number 113-000-000-000. The 23.1 acre parcel is owned by the city of Keene and is located in the industrial district. Okay, so I also need to tell the board this. Per New Hampshire RSA 674:54, the planning board received notification from the city of Keene regarding the relocation of the city salt shed to the 0 Main Street property, which is the former Keene landfill. So I just want to remind the planning board members that any comments from the board are non-binding. So at this time, I'll invite the project representative to present to the board. Name, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Don Lucier, city engineer. With me tonight is Lee Dexter. He's the civil engineer that worked on the design for this project in the engineering division.
Thank you.
Should I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I'm not used to your process, so bear with me.
Oh, okay. I'll remind you, I have difficulty every once in a while myself, especially with all the 0000s.
So I'm here tonight and talk to the board about the project to relocate our salt shed. And some of you, I'm sure, recall reviewing the application by Froling Energy to construct the wood chip processing facility at 560 Main Street. This project, tonight's discussion, really arose out of that project. A few years back, the city sold off a portion of its former landfill site, 560 Main Street. Along with that, we sold off the current existing salt shed that's on that parcel. So as part of the terms of that sale, we were allowed to continue using the existing salt barn for a period of time. That period of time ends this December. So we do need to relocate that activity. We did go through a site selection process internally. We looked at a number of different city-owned parcels that might be suitable and appropriate for this activity to occur. And at the end of the day, we decided that this really was the best option for a number of reasons. Probably most specifically is all of the surrounding land uses that are there today are industrial in nature. They're accustomed to this activity. It's an appropriate site, and it's literally we're moving the activity 1,000 feet to the east. The other consideration was this site is really quite unlikely to be ever developed for any higher or better use, being a landfill and operating that under a DES landfill permit. It's very unlikely that anything's ever going to get developed on this site. We were able to develop this project in I have to commend my colleague here. We were able to shoehorn this facility into a corner of the lot that avoided a lot of the potential environmental impacts, satisfied all of our requirements while still, staying out of wetlands areas, shoreland areas, floodplain, what have you. So it did fit environmentally quite well. And like I said, there are really no impacts to the neighbors. The neighbors are city property, DOT right-of-way, an industrial facility to the west. So we think it's an appropriate place to put it. Now, I will say our project was designed to comply with city development standards to the maximum extent practical. We think we did a pretty good job of that. But there are some areas where strict compliance was either impractical or actually undesirable. Being as this is a historic landfill, and we know that there's soil contamination as well as groundwater contamination, it's very undesirable to infiltrate groundwater on this site. Doing so would basically lead to pushing that contaminated groundwater in different directions than it's currently going. So for that reason, and because we are adding impervious surface, we are increasing the total volume and maximum rate of discharge for the design storm slightly, less than a cubic foot per second, but we are increasing it slightly. And we'll talk about that more in a second. The other things, and we'll get into this, is we're not supplying you with a formal landscaping plan. We haven't supplied you with a formal lighting plan, and there's no real on-site parking. The on-site parking, this isn't a site that's open to the public. It's only open for Public Works employees. They drive their city vehicles to the site to do city business, and then they leave the site. So it's a transitory kind of a thing. There's really no need for on-site parking. In terms of your development standards, I'll run through them very quickly. I mentioned drainage. We are increasing the drainage runoff by 0.88 cubic feet per second. That's due to an increase in impervious surfaces. Today, the ground in this area is basically compacted gravel, and it's quite impervious, but it's still not impervious. So there is a slight increase in impervious surface. Through our discussions with DOT, the proposed site plan will drain about half of the site, basically the northern half of the building and the paved area, towards the DOT right-of-way. And we're basically taking advantage of the fact that they've got well-defined grassed swale between that runs between the adjacent properties and the Route 101. That swale will convey stormwater off of the site and eventually to Beaver Brook, but that grass swale will essentially act as a very long, extended, vegetated buffer to uptake nutrients, allow sediment to settle out. So we think that's a decent way to handle that. Drainage off of the southern edge of the property will continue to follow its existing stormwater patterns, which is basically flowing to the south and east until it reaches Branch River, excuse me. So that's the stormwater issue. Sediment erosion control, it's a flat site. It doesn't really present any significant challenges. We'll do the typical sediment controls at the perimeter of the disturbed area, but we don't see any issues with steep slopes or anything like that at the site. Snow storage, we are providing some snow storage on the site shown here along the sides of the paved area and along here as well. That would be basically our snow storage immediately following a storm or for small volumes of snow. This parcel is also the city's snow dump during winter operations, where we'll move the snow that we collect downtown or our larger surface parking lots down to the site after the storm is over. So if we ever get to the point where these small berms of snow storage are inadequate, the plan would just be to move it further onto the parcel, onto the city's snow dump. Landscaping, we aren't providing a landscaping plan, and the next item is screening. Again, we haven't provided a per se screening plan. The northern property boundary today, the right-of-way limit, is already well screened with a combination of evergreen and deciduous trees. There's an area here where it's a little sparse in the northwestern corner of our site, and we will be sort of filling that in with some evergreens to fill up that. But largely from the street from Route 101, which is really the only place you could see that site, it's going to be well screened from the highway traffic. In terms of lighting, the site doesn't actually have electric service, and we're not running electric to the building. It would cost about $30,000 or more to run a new electrical service to the site because it is a good distance away. Instead, we're going to be doing lighting for task purposes, essentially, using solar. So there'll be a few solar, basically street light type fixtures on site. I think we've provided you a cut sheet in your packages. And those will be used to light up the area where the vehicle, the loading equipment will load up the dump trucks, the front of the equipment storage location, so basically workers can get in and out of the buildings and do what they need to do. Water and sewer, there will be no water or sewer utilities on the site. There are none now for our existing operations, and we won't be having any facilities there. Traffic and access management. Access is actually through this right-of-way, or easement, if you will, across the Froling property, the portion that we sold that was deeded to us as part of the sale. We will be paving the currently unpaved portion as part of it to reduce tracking and whatnot. But there's no actual change in the activity that's going to be happening at the site, and no change in the traffic that's going to be generated by the project. Wetlands and surface water, there are wetlands on the parcel. They're a good distance to the east of this activity, so we've avoided any contact or impacts on the wetlands and surface water. Hazardous and toxic materials, so like I mentioned, this is a active or former active closed landfill, and we do know that there are contaminated soils, contaminated groundwater within the project area. Because of that, we're really trying to minimize impacts to the existing material, minimize excavation. Instead, we're going to be bringing the existing grades up about 2 feet, give or take. We're going to be doing that hopefully mostly, by reprocessing and reusing material that's already on site. There's a lot of construction and demolition debris, old concrete structures and old asphalt and that sort of thing that we're going to process and turn into gravel fill to bring the site elevations up and create the base for the pavement. Noise, again, we're not changing any of the existing operations. We're just moving them 1,000 feet east, and there have been no noise issues at this site. Architectural and visual appearance. So there we get to the second board. This is a photo of a similar type of building, sort of the basis of design, if you will, for our structure was a manufacturer called Clearspan, but we are looking at and going to bid the project out with a number of different vendors that are potentially going to bid on it. They're all very similar, slight differences in the shape of the arch and that. But they're steel-framed buildings, steel trusses with a fabric cover. And you see some samples here, available in different colors. We can talk about colors, but that's going to be the general gist of it. And to the extent that you'll be able to see it, that's the building that you'll see. This building is actually 200 feet long, the one in the photo. Ours will be about 100 feet long, so it's a little out of scale.
I think we do.
All right. So this is a photo of the equipment storage shed. Today, the equipment storage function is located as part of the salt shed. It's a lean-to off of the existing wood frame structure. With the type of structure that we're going to be using for salt storage, that's not possible. So we are going to be putting a 30 by 80 foot pole barn. It'll look something like you see here with 4 garage bay doors. Each of the bays is 12 feet wide doors?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And that's basically just for storing public works equipment. And that's going to be located on the eastern side of the building, of the salt shed building. Landscaping, I think we talked about, lighting we talked about. So that is my comments, and I would love to hear your questions.
Does anyone on the board have any questions?
Just out of curiosity.
Okay, Mayor Handel.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. What's the lifespan on the fabric that goes over the
They're
frame?
They're guaranteed for 20 years, right? I think all of the manufacturers that we've looked at have said that.
Yeah, the Calhoun structure we're looking at for the vinyl, I think, was a 15-year, and they also have a fire retardant material that is a 25-year roof. And that's extendable as well, but it's 20 is about the average for warranty.
Really? It's about the average? That doesn't seem too long to me.
So,
It's much like the roof on your house. Shingle, typical shingle, architectural shingle comes with a 30-year warranty.
So the material is actually very durable, very rugged material.
What is it?
Thick tarp.
It is, I mean, it's essentially a very thick, very heavy-duty tarp. It is treated to prevent photo degradation. Usually, if you're buying the Ocean State job lot tarps, what gets them is exposure to sunlight over time. They will get very brittle and they break down. These are treated with something to prevent that photo degradation. Yeah, I don't know how they do it. I'm not a chemist.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the board? All right, seeing none, Mary, well, actually,
Thank you.
I'll invite the public to ask any questions. Mary, is there anyone on Zoom?
Nope, all of the attendees on Zoom have left.
Thank you.
You're popular.
I want to say for the record, Madam Chair, that I hate going last because I realize that nobody cares about what we're talking about.
Welcome to
It
my
makes me a
world.
little sad.
I know. We're here and you have our full attention.
I would like to actually ask the board to discuss and weigh in on the color options. There's no price difference in them. I kind of have a preference myself for the white, just because it allows more daylight into the interior of the structure. The dark green would certainly, maybe it'll be a little less noticeable. But if anybody, I was once told that engineers shouldn't be allowed to pick colors, so I'm looking for some advice.
Could you hold up the gold, please?
We're
I'm more
calling it-
privy to the gold.
We're calling that tan.
White gets very dirty. Be almost impossible to clean the white, but that's just my personal opinion. I don't know if anyone has another.
What about heat?
The building is open on one end, so heat doesn't really come into effect. I'm sure that the darker color does warm up in the summertime, but then we're not in that building very much during the summertime, so.
I guess now I have to ask the board if they have any non-binding comments for this project. Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the Minor Project Review Committee membership, and that, actually, the people that were nominated to this membership is on the very last page of the packet, which is page 79.
Yep.
And I believe, Mary, would that be you that's doing that, talking about this?
Sure, yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So there's a couple of changes here. I believe there's the only change to the regular membership is adding Deputy Chief Jeff Chickering to the list of regular members. He's going to be replacing Captain John Bates on the committee. And then for alternates, we have two new additions. The first one is Evan Clemens, who is our new planner sitting next to me as an alternate. And then Deputy Chief Donald Farquhar. I'm not sure if I'm saying his. Okay. So he would be the alternate. And that is to basically fill the vacancy from Captain Bates when he left the city. We needed to fill that position on the committee. And then our goal was to have kind of like a backup person for all of the regular members on the committee.
Similar to us.
I will mention that this is sort of a temporary fix for right now. Coming up later on the agenda, I'll talk about it in a minute, but I think we have kind of possibly a better solution to membership for the Minor Project Review Committee than coming to you every time there's turnover in staff. So this will be, we're asking for you to approve this roster for now, and then we'll come back to you hopefully with a better solution in the next few months.
Okay, all right, thank you. Is there a motion to,
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll move to approve the slate of minor project committee members as presented.
is there a second? All in favor? Thank you. Next item on the agenda. Does staff have anything to report at this time?
Other than, I think you've all been introduced to Evan at this point, but I believe is his first planning board meeting. So this is Evan, if you haven't met him yet. He is our new planner, and we're excited to have him.
Excited to be here. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Evan, for sitting through this meeting. We loved it tonight. Okay, is there any new business?
So, Madam Chair, at a future meeting, staff would like to propose updates to your rules of procedure, which were last updated in 1990. So there's some updates and some things that are a little bit different in how you operate now as opposed to 32 years ago. And in addition, we're hoping to build in the membership of the Minor Project Review Committee into your rules of procedure so that it would be, rather than naming specific individuals who, may leave the city, we've seen that happen a few times now in just the few months that the Minor Project Review Committee has been around. The city attorney it's his opinion that we could just have in your rules of procedure that the membership would consist of representatives from, and then you could list the different departments. And that gives a lot more flexibility for staff. If a staff member is out on vacation, we don't have issues trying to get quorum. So that's our recommendation to you, and I think we'll take that opportunity also to just kind of go through the rules of procedure in general and update them to kind of match what your current practices are, since it's been a while since they've been updated.
Okay, and so will you bring that back to the board at some point?
Yeah, so I'm not sure we'll be able to have this ready for you by next month, but perhaps...
I'm in no hurry.
Perhaps the May or June meeting, I think, is our target for bringing revised rules of procedure to you. To bring a draft, yes.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. It's not that I'm not in any hurry, but I know you've got a lot of work in your office, and you're still short a person, so I don't want to put you under the gun for anything, so that was really kind of my comment.
Thank you,
All
Madam
right,
Chair.
so is that it? Lots of things going on.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. So the upcoming dates of interest, there is a joint committee meeting of the Planning Board and PLD on April 11th at 6:30. The Planning Board Steering Committee is on April 12th at 11 a.m. The Planning Board site visit is to be confirmed, and the next Planning Board meeting is on April 25th at 6:30. So at this time, I will now adjourn the meeting at
8 o'clock.
8 p.m. Thank you.